Hello guys, it's Jess. What's up? Welcome back. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day so far. Welcome to the first episode of my brand new series that currently doesn't have a name. It is just my creator series. And today's first episode is all about how I edit my videos. Throughout this series, I'm going to cover topics like filming tips, how I set up to film, lighting, how I shoot photos when I travel, and specifically when I solo travel, because I am taking a lot of photos when I solo travel, an updated video on how to get somebody else to take good photos of you, because we all know that is so much of a struggle, and so much more. So that's what's to come in this creator series. It'll just be interspersed between my usual lifestyle, fashion, New York City vlogs. I'm really excited about it because I used to do so many videos that were more in this like creator or creative type of genre, and I just kind of stopped doing them. And I know there are so many people out there who are interested in getting into content creation. So if I can share some of my tips and tricks to help your process or journey, or just like making cool things in general, I would love to do that. Like I said, today's video is how I edit. And I'm gonna be sharing all of my secrets, tips, tricks, hacks, and my full process and workflow from the moment I take the SD card out of the camera all the way to the export button. We're gonna talk about color grading, doodle animation, a full run through of my gear, and I will have chapters. I'll have them down on the bottom of the screen, so if you want to jump around or refer back to something, it should be very easy to click around. I will have links to everything I talk about in today's video in the description box, including the sponsor of today's video, NVIDIA Studio. We'll talk more about them later. Last thing is, if you enjoy this video and you want to see more like it, including more of the creator series or just any of the typical stuff I do in the fashion, lifestyle, New York City cozy home kind of space, make sure to subscribe down below to join the family. Cool, let's dive on in. The first thing we're going to talk about is prep work and gear. Now, the prep work for a video depends on what type of video it is. There are talking head videos, which is a video like this, where I'm for the most part sat in one spot talking about a certain topic. But I always have some kind of outline and notes. There are bullet points, certain topics I want to hit. Sometimes I will have a phrase or sentence I want to make sure I mention. If it's, very specific, I'm like, ooh, I really like this and I want to convey an idea or a concept this way. Then I will have something written out semi-verbatim, but for the most part, it is more outline or notes focused. I really like a notebook, and I love having a physical library of my past videos. I find that I'm able to get my ideas out so much better. Then there are vlog type of videos where typically they're more dynamic. You're on the go, you have montages. I mostly only have like a concept or a theme in mind. Week in my life, spring day in my life. Even a thrift with me video more so follows this vlog format. And so for that, I will just have like the high level concept. I think the most prep work that I do when I film a vlog is potentially prep a notes app note with places that I might want to go in the vlog. But it really is so important to have some sort of concept, idea, outline in mind as you film, because how you film something really dictates the direction and how you edit something. If you just film a bunch of random clips, it can be quite tough to figure out how you're going to put them together without some sort of direction or structure. And this is speaking from personal experience. I have done that before, and it is possible to edit them together and figure out the story or concept after the fact and then work it backwards, but it does make your life a little bit tougher. Now, for what I used to film, we're going to do a little gear speed run. For my camera, including what I'm filming this video on, I'm using the Lumix S5 Mark II, 35mm 1.4 Sigma art lens, and then all of my vlogs and outfit videos are filmed with a 14 to 24mm lens, which just gives a really wide shot. Also for vlogging and for more fun creative shots, more on-the-go shots, I love the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. And then the last camera that I use all the time and is probably maybe my most used camera is my iPhone. For short form, for grabbing vlogging clips as I'm walking around. It's just so convenient and easy to use. My go-to settings for all my cameras are 4K at 24 frames per second. Audio is the most underrated but most important part, because oftentimes lower quality footage can be kind of a vibe. Your brain lets it slide. But if you have bad audio, or if you are foregoing using a microphone, something like this, as to something like this, that is really gonna pull someone out of your content. So using a mic and having good audio is so crucial. The mic that I'm I most often use is my Rode Lav mic. And then the mic that I'm using right now is my Rode Pod mic. This is usually what I use for voiceovers, sometimes videos like this where I'm very stationary and I'm just at my desk. A majority of the time I film with natural light, but on the times where I want to use lighting, I use the Amaran Verge Maxes. And then on screen, I'll show my 2 mobile phone lighting setups. For editing software, I use Davinci Resolve. I think I've used it maybe for about 2 years, but also out there is Adobe Premiere. CapCut is very, very popular, and Final Cut Pro, also popular. If I could recommend you one, I would recommend Davinci. There's so much you can do with it, and it's free. We do love free. There is an upgraded version that I do now have, but I think for the first year of me using it, I didn't have the upgraded version, and I only upgraded because there were some additional effects and stuff that I wanted to be able to use. But the free version definitely has everything you need. I don't really do much phone editing, even for short form. I'd say probably 99% of my content is edited on a computer, specifically a laptop. That's what I specialize in. So if you're looking for phone editing tips, I sadly do not have any, and I would recommend searching someone who does specialize in phone editing. But laptop and computer editing, I got you. Having a powerful and well-equipped laptop is so crucial for video editing because you want the process of editing to be as smooth and easy as possible, especially as you start making more content or shooting in higher quality settings, or if you're just trying to level up your edits, whether that's through adding more elements, starting to do more layering, doing VFX, and sometimes your device or your graphics card isn't powerful enough, which can make editing so much harder and slower than it needs to be. And we don't want that. So knowing what's inside your laptop, especially the graphics card, is so important. Inside of this laptop is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5060. This is what's gonna make editing heavy-duty footage so smooth and easy. It ensures that you're not dealing with skipping, stuttering, buffering as you edit, which is gonna make the editing process so much quicker, so much easier, helping you speed up your content creation process so you can work smarter and not harder. And with that, inside of the graphics card is something called NVENC, which basically means that when you hit export, there's a dedicated encoder designed to help make that export super fast. And if you're into gaming, this is also amazing for running all your games, both big and small. Recently, I've started playing Stray, which is the coolest game. I really like it. I actually have been itching to play it, but I have been trying to be responsible and focus on finishing my work today. But Stray is this cool game about this orange cat in a cyberpunk world who's trying to navigate the underbelly of the cyberpunk world and solve an ancient mystery, which so far I'm loving. Very interested to see where it goes. Now that you know what's inside, the laptop itself is the Lenovo Legion 5i. It has an intense cooling system called the Legion Cold Front Hyper to help out with performance, powerful fans that push all the hot air out the back, away from the screen and keyboard, so your hands and your laptop stay nice and cool. There's also a built-in app called Legion Space where you can tweak all the settings and really curate it to not only your preferable settings, but also the best performance for what you're trying to do, whether that's for editing or games or quiet mode for longer battery life and a softer fan noise. And the last thing I want to mention is for those who are interested in live streaming, like if you're watching this and you're like, I'm not someone who wants to edit, but I would love to be a content creator, live streaming might be your friend. I personally don't do it, but something I want to recommend to you guys is something called NVIDIA Broadcast. With NVIDIA Broadcast, they have virtual backgrounds, a virtual key light, which is so nice for lighting, but especially the number one thing I want to mention is that it has an incredible live background noise removal. So if you're somewhere where there's like a lot of background noise, whether it's outside or you have a fan on, or maybe there's construction outside, it's just generally noisy. When you use NVIDIA Broadcast, it just automatically filters it out live.
Hi, I'm helping. This is the laptop's microphone by itself.
And this is with Studio Voice, which is supposed to make it sound like a good microphone. Now I'm going to use the fan.
This is what it sounds like if you have a fan running and we're using the built-in laptop speakers.
But if we use NVIDIA Broadcast Studio Voice filter, which is currently in beta, it sounds like this, which is actually really crazy. So, that's magic. They're the people. And that's the weather. Back to you.
So your live stream sounds super crispy and professional. It is really, really cool. So if you want more information on this laptop, the Lenovo Legion 5i, and on the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5060, I will have a link down in the description box. You can check it out for more information there. Thanks, NVIDIA Studio. Moving on to the process of editing. So at the beginning of any project, I pull my footage in and I organize it. And if I have multiple cameras or devices that I use, I'll organize by each device to make footage super easy to find. Then I open up Davinci and I open my base project file. I use a base project file so I don't have to rebuild the structure every time. I have all of my bins, my most used elements, and even how I like the timeline to be set up, so that way I don't have to redo it every time. And then I'll save as, and then save as the the project name so it doesn't affect the base template. It just creates a new version of it. At the beginning of the edit, we have the base edit or the first pass. This is a rough cut of the footage where you're starting to trim down the parts that don't need to be there, whether they're redundant, mess ups, a lot of ums and uhs, blank spaces. This is where you're kind of just starting to chop out things. One of the tools that I like to use, which I think exists in most other editing softwares, is color coding. I use color coding to mark different clips for different things. Sometimes I'll mark clips that I might want to use in the intro as like a little teaser. Sometimes I'll mark clips that might be good as repurposed short form. Oh, it's the purple clip. Let me grab all the purple clips and then toss them at the beginning. And I have a little legend of colors and what they mean. The last thing I want to mention in this base edit section, hotkeys or keyboard shortcuts. Basically, these are keys on your keyboard that shortcut certain tasks in editing. So for me, in my Davinci, B is cut, L is to play forward. If you double tap L, it'll make it play double speed. And then I've also programmed a couple keyboard shortcuts of my own for things that I like to do in the editing process. So I've programmed Q and W to be a zoom in and zoom out respectively. And G closes a gap. So when I've cut through a bunch of footage and I have all these gaps, instead of clicking in each one and hitting delete, 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 I just select them all and I hit G and they go and go together. My favorite keyboard shortcut. They save you so much time. It is so worth learning and so worth working into your workflow. Then we have the second pass. This is where I start refining the edits, choosing between clips, and then adding in the initial fun stuff like music and text. For music, I use both Epidemic Sound and Artlist, and I get not only my music from there, but also my sound effects. Music is maybe my favorite part of the editing process. I love making a video come to life with music. I really love the role that music can play. So these are the following questions that I always ask myself. What type of video is this? Is it educational? Is it fun? Is it vloggy? Is it adventurous? Is it chaotic? What kind of video is this? What's the vibe and what's the topic? How do I want somebody to feel? I'm gonna use my Switzerland vlog as a great example because I did so much specific music selection with that video. If you've not watched my Switzerland vlog, it's me going on a solo trip and then on a yoga retreat in Switzerland for my 30th birthday. We had a nice mix of adventurous music, like we're going along on this adventure together, we're traveling to another country, and then in the more introspective sections, it was a little bit softer. When I think back to myself half my life ago when I was 15, I genuinely never imagined I would be doing this kind of stuff. And to be very honest, I never thought about it. I never dreamed this big and in this way. I'm impressed with myself. I like it. Oh shit. Letter. Letter J. Oh wait, is it backwards? Letter J. And then maybe most importantly, what kind of role do I want the music to play? Do I want it to be a main character or do I want it to be a background actor? We made it to Manila. Okay, here we go again. The thread broke again. Fabrics, patterns, and colors to look for that feel very autumnal and cozy. All of these design details are really what can make a piece. Sometimes I already have a track in mind and it's in my music library, super easy to find. And sometimes all I have is a vibe and a feel of what I want the music to be like. And then I have to go searching for that, and I will listen to so many songs. On both platforms though, you can search for a popular song, let's say Scott Street by Phoebe Bridgers, and it'll pull up songs that are similar to that, whether it's similar in instrument, beats per minute, similar in some kind of ways, and you'll have like a pre-curated list. You can also filter by genre, instrument, if someone is singing or not. So there are ways you can refine your search, but I love this process. This process to me is so fun. I love the music of a video. Ooh, and very specifically, Epidemic Sound. I do have an album with them. It's so cool. If you go on their homepage and you scroll down to creator albums, I'm on the creator album thumbnail, which is so cool. And I have some curated songs that I use in my videos. So another cool thing to check out. I do put a lot of text in my videos. And the way I usually use text is to emphasize, to add more context, or to point something out. My favorite serif fonts are Mrs. Eves, Vogue, Ivy Presto, and New Kansas. My favorite sans serif fonts are Poppins, Mr. Eves, and Jumper. My favorite fun fonts are Palmer Lake, Boxo Sapi, Crayonet, and Gawit. I also love to do handwritten text. I do this on a tablet. I usually use Procreate, remove the background, and then export as a PNG, and then bring that into Davinci and place wherever I want it to be. Oftentimes, I'll also animate the text, and I do this by writing whatever it is I'm writing. I'll write that 3 or 4 times on separate layers. If I only did 3 layers, I'll export at 3 frames per second. And if I did 4 layers, I'll export at 4 frames per second. I'll make sure the background is removed, and then I'll export as a GIF and then just drop in on my video. The clip is only going to be a couple seconds long, so if you want the text to go longer, duplicate that clip multiple times for as long as I want the text to go on screen. Lastly, sometimes I'll do these fun magazine letters or little bead letters, and I'll do this by going onto Canva and then searching each letter, and then I export as a PNG with a transparent background, bring it into Davinci, and then pop it onto the clip where I want it. The last thing that I usually start adding in during the second pass are my zoom-ins and cut-ins. These I use for emphasis, for comedic timing, or to point something out, like here in this sewing video where I'm showing the rotary cutter in my hand. And finally, we have the last pass, or what I like to call the zesty pass. The zesty pass is not necessarily like one singular pass, like you might go through the full edit a couple of times, but this is kind of just the entire umbrella term of the last finishing step of this workflow. The zesty pass is where I add oomph, I add additional context, and I add my personal style with editing. These are the following things that I typically add. B-roll, which are supporting clips of whatever I'm talking about. So if, for example, I do a sewing video and I'm explaining a process or I'm talking about how I did something, B-roll would be the close-up footage of my hands showing that's something that I'm doing. The A-roll, or footage like this where I'm talking to you, would be here, and then the B-roll would be the additional context of what I'm talking about. I also add what I'm going to call personalizations. These are very you feeling things. This is definitely up to every editor, but things that I usually add are doodle graphics. I do this both handwriting and for little elements like stars, bursts, hearts, and if it's something beyond my skill set level or something like very specific I want, I'll ask my husband, because my husband is an animator and he's quite good at doodling. He will say he's not, but he's really good at doodling. He drew this intro for my style tips video a couple videos back. How cute is this? How cool. I also like to do fun crops sometimes, and a lot of times when it comes to outfit videos or try-ons, I will oftentimes add a fun background in the back. Usually this is a cool pattern, cool print. Sometimes it's a photo scenery of like the beach. Sometimes if I find like a cool video, I'll put the video as the background, and then I'll bring the top layer of the video down to like 80 to 90%, depending on how much border I want to show. I feel like this adds such a fun dynamic element to the video. It also really personalizes it to your style. It makes it more visually interesting and is further carving out your editing style. Sound effects. I use these to emphasize and meify the edit. My usual go-tos are pops. I like a keyboard typing if I want my text to write out. Sometimes if there's a wacky or silly moment, I like to add this impact sound. Actual folding. I overfilled, ended up with holes, and my folds were so busted. Really punch in for that comedic timing. Ooh, and I really like a whoosh sound effect for transitions. I don't know what to really call this one, but I'm just gonna say additions and enhancements. Voiceovers supporting stock footage. Like for example, the clip at the beginning of my videos, my intro roll where it's the New York City skyline from the side. You're not supposed to fly a drone in New York City unless it's like licensed and it's passed through all these things. And so if I want a cool drone shot of New York City, I'm going stock footage to further the storytelling in New York or establish a location. Sometimes you just don't quite get the footage you want. Sometimes you're not able to. So supplementing with stock footage is a really great resource to use sometimes. Mogurts or motion graphics are things like this, and transitions that might look like this, maybe like this, or this. They're usually a good amount built in natively to an editing software, but you can also find and download other options. I've used Motion Array in the past. Overlays, which might be things like graphics, references, effects. Usually the ones I use these days are camera shake, the video call, and the video camera, as well as audio layering. I often like to layer a talking clip under a previous clip to segue into the next section.
There's no candles, but still make a wish.
And everything across the board was like very delicious. Would recommend. Now we're back at our original spot and we're shooting some photos. It is quite a bit windier, but Gian is up. It just adds a really smooth flow. The technical term for this would be an L cut or J cut, depending on which way you go. During the Zesty Pass, this is also where I do any technical refinements that need to be done. Things like stabilization. If you have shaky footage, I will always be popping over here and stabilizing said footage. If there's any blurring needed to be done, I'll add a Gaussian blur to preview a segment of later in the video, or sometimes for privacy or safety, whether it's to location, confidential things for work, and then of course, any audio cleanup. Usually I'm very specific about how I'll record my audio, but sometimes it's out of your control. Like if you're vlogging, sometimes it's windy. Sometimes you're in a crowded place. Sometimes even when you're filming at home, there's like a low hum. If I notice even the slightest something, I'll pop over into the effects panel, do an audio cleanup. I'll scroll down and find the AI voice isolation tool, and then I'll dial it between 12 and 14 for a very natural but crispy sound. Sometimes if it's on like the higher end of the scale or 100% on the slider, it sounds kind of robotic, kind of just weird. So I'll just slide it down to where it just cleans up that background without really affecting my voice. Next in the Zesty Pass, I do color grading. I love color grading. I think it's such a fun process, and I love really bringing a video and the colors of that video to life. I always add an adjustment layer to apply corrections to. I know every video and edit is different. I typically do the following because I really like a soft, warm look that just feels very cozy and welcoming. I brighten the exposure. I'll lower the highlights, warm it up a bit, add a bit of saturation, lift shadows, sometimes contrast, and then I'll tweak certain colors in the HSL, which is the hue, saturation, luminance. I can definitely do an entire video on color grading. It is definitely comprehensive. This is only a very, very light bullet point on the topic, but if you want to see a full video on color grading, let me know. Alternatively, you can also find and buy LUTs online to just apply to your edit to get a certain look, and then you just slightly tweak for the footage. That'll help you get a very specific, consistent look. And the final thing I do during the Zesty Pass, especially for short form, is I add subtitles. The percentage of people who watch short form videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts without sound and just read the subtitles, it's such a high number that to have subtitles on a video is absolutely essential and crucial, and it is so worth the tiny bit of extra time to put them on. And very fortunately for Davinci Resolve users, it's super duper easy to do. First, you mark the points in your video where you want to add subtitles. You do this at the beginning by hitting the key I, and then at the end with the hotkey O. Then you're gonna pop up into the timeline tab, scroll down to AI tools, and then click Subtitle Assistant. This just transcribes the video for you, so you don't have to type manual subtitles. I was doing that before. It takes so long. This just transcribes what you're saying. So simple, so easy. And again, this is where our GPU comes in to further expedite this process. You just do a quick preview of the transcription, and then all you have to do is tweak your font, color, shadows if you want to add any, and there you are, super easy subtitles. The last thing I would recommend you do before you export is to watch the video all the way through on single speed. Not double speed. If you watch on double speed, you're gonna miss things. I have done this before. This is me speaking from my personal experience. Single speed. This is gonna make sure that you catch any leftover things, weird audio fluctuations, like whatever accidental random thing got left in there or got messed up. This is where you're gonna catch it before you export it. And our last section, exporting. The export is actually incredibly important because you wanna make sure that your settings are properly set. That way, the video that you just spent all this time editing fully comes to life in the best quality possible and without taking up all your computer space. Mark the points on your timeline if you haven't already. And these are the export settings that I use for max quality. Also, not using up all the space on my computer. This is really important, especially on YouTube. You want your video to be gorgeous and crispy. It is more forgiving with short form. Quality definitely jumps around, but I will say when you have those higher quality videos on short form, people do notice it stands out. These are some of the comments that I've gotten before on videos that I filmed with my camera and edited and exported in max quality settings. And just like that, our export's done. Throwing it back to earlier, shout out to the NVENC for making the export super quick and seamless. From here, the video is ready for upload, and that is my full process, all my tips, tricks, secrets, and workflow on how I edit a video. And that's a wrap on today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys got so many tips, tricks, ideas, inspiration, tangible takeaways from this video. I really hope that if you've been struggling either with kind of just jumping into editing, or if you've been looking for ways to level up your editing or maybe shortcut certain things, or how are people doing this. I hope this video helped you out and that you gained some clarity. And if you guys have any further questions on this topic, or as I mentioned earlier, any video requests for future episodes of this series, please let me know in the comment section. I got you. I will either answer said question or do a video on it. So let me know. A few videos coming up on my channel to look forward to. My extreme office makeover. You can't see it. It's like just off camera. I am painting my office. We're redoing things, hanging things, decorating, sewing, so many DIYs. I'm very excited. I've been wanting to redo my office for the longest time, and I think this is going to be such an awesome video. A couple fun New York City vlogs. I have a sewing video that I have been truly itching to do for quite some time. I've been in a sewing slump, and I finally, very recently, feel enthusiastic and excited about sewing and getting back into it. So new sewing video coming soon, as well as some fun style tips videos that I have been saying I've been wanting to do forever, and lo and behold, did I do them yet? No. So we're finally gonna do them. And again, make sure you're subscribed. If you guys create and post anything with these tips or getting inspired by this video, please tag me, send it to me, DM me. I always love seeing creativity come to life, and I would love to see what you guys are making. So seriously, please tag me, send it to me. Again, a huge thank you to NVIDIA Studio for sponsoring today's video. I'm gonna have the Lenovo Legion 5i linked down in the description box for you guys to check out. It's been so cool to try something new and test out something to give recommendations to you guys, especially for anybody who wants to get into content creation or making cool things, or honestly even just like fun gaming. This is just such a cool, fun recommendation to be able to make. And if you guys have any questions on the laptop or anything, again, about the creative process, make sure to let me know in the comments and I got you. If you want to see more from me on the day-to-day, you can follow me on both TikTok and on Instagram at Jessica Neistadt. I have been posting quite a bit over there, so make sure to follow along, especially on Instagram stories. I feel I am quite active on Instagram stories, so if you're trying to see some fun updates, daily things, be a part of polls, weekly Q&As, New York City recs, make sure to follow along. That's gonna be it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. I love and appreciate you all so very much, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye guys.